So, today we're going to talk about the power of myth. Isn't it myths or something? The Power of Myth by Joseph Campbell. And it is essentially a book about myths and rituals and stuff like that. And so it is going to be about this myths, which I think is something that's very, very interesting because, and this is also something he talks about in this little summary that I'm just going to read then. That we're often just doing things and they just don't make any sense. Quite. At least this is how I've just absorbed this, what he was talking about or writing about. And so yeah, here it is. Here's the book. And as always, the link to the summary is going to be down in the description. So if you want to check it out on your own, please check it out. And also in the description, you'll find just various other links to the podcast, which is like this video is also available as an audiobook, basically. So podcast or audiobook. So if you want to just listen to it, please go down into the description and check it out. It's way more efficient. It is way better than watching this YouTube video. Yeah, but I'm going to read. The Power of Myth by Joseph Campbell, rated 9 out of 10. The High-Level Thoughts. A fantastic book told through 8 interviews done on the power of myth in our lives. It really made me think about how we lack cultural traditions and narratives and how few people go through rites and infidelity or make sacrifices for big commitments in their lives. I wonder how much of feeling lost comes from lacking a strong narrative to track your life against, to motivate or guide you. So I do have to say that I might have been wrong. So he says that myths are actually pretty important. And having a narrative in life is pretty important. And I do have to say, I think it makes sense. I mean, if you know that you're quote unquote supposed to be doing something at this certain age, you know that there's always something to look forward to. There's always something to work towards. Then you're never ever going to be bored. You know, everything is going to be fine always, which is a really nice thing and a really amazing thing. So yeah, summary notes. The book is broken down to 8 interviews done over 2 years. So my notes here are organized by those sections. Myth and the modern world. And this is a quote now. People say that what we are all seeking is meaningful life. And I think this is totally the truth. I don't think that's what we are really seeking. I think what we're seeking is an experience of being alive so that our life experiences on the purely physical plane will have resonances within our own innermost being and reality, so that we actually feel the rapture of being alive. And I mean, for me, it is kind of the same. For me, well, I do have to say, for me, it actually really boils down to having meaning in life and a purpose in terms of there is a reason why you wake up and you like this reason. And there's a reason why you go to bed and you like this reason. And also there's a reason for why you just are not willing to go to bed. Because there is something that's very important and very interesting for you that you're just willing to do. And all sorts of things. So I just believe that indeed having meaning in life is one of the most important things you just, I don't know, you should be caring about in life. Whatever it is. You know, a great hobby that you have, a great whatever that you have. It's, at my point of view, it is one of the most important things. Period. This section covers how we have lost the power of myth in the modern world, and according to Campbell, this explains many of these drives and feelings of lostness that we experience, especially youths. We're so obsessed with our outer value, money, status, etc., that we forget about the inner value, our internal development, and that is all the real value there is anyway. Marriage. A true mythological marriage is the sacrifice of the one individual for the union, for creating a whole that is greater than its parts. You're not sacrificing for the other person, you're sacrificing for the marriage, the union you have created together. Which, yeah, I think is kind of the case. Yeah. Puberty rites. In primal societies, you go through a puberty rite, especially as a boy. You go kill the lion, get beat up, get circumcised. It's brutal but tribal and communal. And once you go through it, you know you're not a boy anymore. You are a man. You have crossed over. We've lost these points of transition. No one goes through a specific struggle to reach a new plane of life, and no one has to make that kind of sacrifice to transition. Which on one hand, I can understand why it is a bad thing that we're not having these anymore. On the other hand, like, should we really kill lions or try to kill lions? From a just purely like animal perspective and animal lover perspective, no, completely not, because lions are just rare and stuff. But on the other hand, I just completely understand his his quote-unquote rant about not having a transition, because am I a man right now? I'm 19 years old. So if we have a look at the law that we have in Austria, I'm just an adult. I am. Do I feel like one? No, not really. Would I feel like one if I just did something very specific? Maybe more, I think, because I've done something for the new quote-unquote status that I'm having in society, in my tribe, in just also for myself, actually. So I think it could be cool. It could be important. The journey inward. Another quote. One thing that comes out in myths is that at the bottom of the abyss, comes the voice of salvation. The black moment is the moment when the real message of transformation is going to come. At the darkest moment comes the light. In this section, Campbell explores the internal struggles and development that we all go through and how myth aids their development. The serpent and eagle are timeless symbols. The serpent is bound to the earth and the eagle is in flight. It is a conflict we all experience. And then the dragon is the combination of the two, a mythological fusion of the earthly and heavenly beings. Certain mythological themes repeat throughout history. The Basari people of Togo have a creation myth similar to the Christian one, in which a snake tricks the first person into eating fruit, and their god Unubotta asks who told them they could eat the fruit, and they say the snake did. These kind of stories repeat throughout history and have some sort of pervasive significance beyond any one religion. Likewise, the Sumerian people had an old myth about a man that the gods created to tend to their garden, which is Adam. Or, yes, Christianity knows it as Adam. Every religion is true when thought of metaphorically, but you get in trouble when you start thinking of the metaphors as facts. We typically live in a world of duality, good and bad, true and untrue, but the mythology shows us that there is an underlying union between the polarities, a yin and yang, where there is always some good and bad, and vice versa. There is no black and white, and there is indeed no black and white. There are some things that are pretty good, like drinking water, but guess what? You can also die from fucking drinking water. So it is indeed facets of gray rather than black and white. The denial of mythology and the absence of transcendent religious experiences is what Campbell thinks has turned young people to drugs. Which could kind of definitely be the case, like, I'm not gonna lie. He has a good bit on Santa Claus that an initiation is when you move past the false reality and understand the deeper meaning. There is no Santa Claus, but it is a metaphor for the relationship between parents and children. That relationship truly exists, Santa Claus doesn't. And I like that, and I've forgotten to highlight fucking things, motherfucker. And it's, shit. This is also important. I like it. I'm gonna just choose this one as well. The puberty read, of course, I'm gonna take you. And I'm also gonna choose this thingy thing, marriage. I'm also gonna choose this one. So, the first storytellers. More on puberty reads. Boys have to be ripped, quote unquote, away from their mothers to see when it's time to grow up. Okay, the man would literally come and take them from their mothers to initiate them. We don't have that kind of symbolic tearing away anymore. Women, on the other hand, still go through puberty, and the moment she has her first period, she knows she's no longer a girl. That transition still exists for women in modern society, but not for men. Oh, we are so unlucky, unfortunate, yeah. Sacrifice and bliss. If you follow, and this is a quote, if you follow your bliss, you put yourself in a kind of track that has been there all the while, waiting for you, and the life that you ought to be living is the one you are living. Wherever you are, if you are following your bliss, you're enjoying that refreshment, that life within you all the time. Sacred places. Campbell says that everyone needs a special room or hour of the day where they don't know what's going on in the news or what they have to do or what anyone owes them. Time to be alone with themselves to allow for creative incubation. Sometimes nothing will happen when you're there. But if you cultivate that alone time and that removal, eventually something will pop out of it. And I sometimes feel like that I'm having a little bit too much of that time. Many gods of death were also gods of birth or fertility or regeneration. The Haitian voodoo god of death Jeddah or Gedi is also the god of sex. Osiris was the judge and lord of the dead and the lord of regeneration and life. Vishnu destroys the world and rebuilds it. You have to have death in order to have life. Men say they love war because it makes them feel alive. In war, you can't be anymore else but there. Life is pain and suffering, horror, but you are alive. Because it makes you feel alive, because there's nothing to think about, and there's not much to think about. And I think this is the best time you can have if you don't think about what's around you. It really is. Finding bliss. We all have those little moments, those little intuitions where for a fleeting second we think we might know where our bliss is. We have to grab it. No one can tell you what will be. You have to learn to recognize it within yourself. Sacrifice and work. Can you endure 10 years of disappointment and no one thinking your work is good? Can you push through the rejection, or do you need to win on the first go? Have the bestseller right away. Great work requires sacrifice and need to be up to the challenge and be focused. You need to be up to the challenge and be focused on your bliss and not the fortune. Totally the fucking case. Because one day everything is going to be working out, maybe in some or the other way. The hero's adventure. This is a quote. Furthermore, we have not even to risk the adventure alone, for the heroes of all time have gone before us. The labyrinth is thoroughly known. We have only to follow the thread of the hero path, and where we had thought to find an abomination, we shall find a god. And where we had thought to slay another, we shall slay ourselves. Where we have thought to travel outward, we will come to the center of our existence, our own existence. And where we had thought to be alone, we will be with all the world. Our lives brings out our characters, and you find out more about yourself as you go on. That is why it is better to put yourself in situations that will bring out your higher nature instead of your lower. Don't get where it's slippery. Sometimes we need a hero to help give voice to our deeper longings. Campbell says this is one of the perils of modern society, the importance and ennui that people feel. Maybe they need a hero to help them guide out of it. We focus on Icarus, who flew too close to the sun and perished, but just as important is his father Daedalus, who flew the middle path between the sun and the ocean and made it across to the other shore. Yeah, I think balance is actually a pretty good thing in life. Having balance, not overdoing one thing, not underdoing another thing. Mythology versus religion. Mythology is fluid, and many of the myths can be self-contradictory, or different myths with different lessons across the culture. But theology and religion fix things a certain way. They turn poetry into prose and say there are rules and everything is literal. Religion is much less flexible. You don't have to believe that there was a King Arthur, but Christianity requires that you believe there was a Christ. Myths give external explanation and stories for internal strifes. Slaying monsters is slaying the dark things inside of you. If you're telling yourself, oh no, I couldn't do that, I couldn't be a rider, that is the wrong inside of you and you have to slay it. Our journey is to save ourselves. Thinking in mythology terms helps you recognize its themes in your own life. You learn to see the clues. The question then is if you're able to say yes to your adventure when it presents itself, the adventure of being alive. The adventure of being alive. The gift of the gods. I didn't get anything in particular from this interview. Well. Tales of love and marriage. There are many kinds of love. First, there was just eros, the excitement of sexual desire. Then there was also armor, something special that was more personal and deep. And apage or apage is the impersonal love of our neighbor. Compassion is suffering with someone. Com is together and passion is suffering. To have compassion for someone, you must suffer with them. Yin and Yang sacrifice to the relationship to the whole, similar to as discussed in the first interview. Love is its own kind of pain, the pain of being alive. Masks of eternity. There's a Hindu idea that no one can worship a god but a god. You have to see in yourself some element of the god and what he represents to you in order to worship him. Mythology is typically shared with some humor and is light-hearted. Religion is serious and strict. And yes, this is totally the case. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm definitely not gonna lie. everything you do has a potential, and the mission of life is to fulfill that potential. When you follow your bliss, there's something inside you that knows when you're following it and knows when you fall off. If you deviate in the pursuit of money or fame or sex, you've lost your life. But if you stay with your passion, even if you don't get the money, you still have your bliss and you're still going to be happy. And this is just what counts. And this is the last part of it. And I think it is amazing. I think it just talks about a few important things. So once again, The Power of Myth by Joseph Campbell. Maybe you're going to check it out. Maybe you buy it. I could actually have a look whether I can archive. No. Archive. When I'm able to find it on the archive. The Power of Myth by... Let's copy this. And let's see if I'm able to find it. No. Gonna go to books. All books. Because maybe you can borrow it and go through it. It seems to be a relatively old book, so chances are pretty high. But we will see. We will see what this search engine says. Let's wait a second. And no, a documented history of... No, you can't. The Power of Myth. Maybe if I just exclude this one and do it like this, maybe I'm able to find it in that way. Who knows? I don't know. Nobody knows. But it seems... Yeah, you can actually borrow it. The Power of Myth, the exact same one as they also showed here in the summary there. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. It's having access restricted item, true. Okay, I see. Borrow this book to access EPUB and PDF file. How many pages is it having? They say it's like 324. But if you're just then having a look at the EPUB, where you can also just decide to have a different font size and stuff, then it's probably going to be less. Maybe you're actually able to halve it. Not always, sometimes. But yeah, this is going to be the end of the episode. So I do really hope that you've been just enjoying it. And I do also hope that you've been able to learn something from this episode. And yeah, I wish you the best health, happiness, and also success, and also hope that you're going to rebound yourself and you're going to be remembered. This basically means your legacy, and basically means just being a nice person, and then also being remembered as a nice person, which is a pretty cool thing. And 3 other questions that I'm having for you are: why are you here? What are you trying to change? And what is bothering you the most? These 3 questions are hopefully going to show you your purpose and maybe even a business idea, which is a pretty cool thing. Pretty indeed cool thing. Yeah, another question that I'm having for you is: what could you say? What could you make? What could you create that is going to change somebody's life? Yeah. Hopefully going to see you the next time. Bye, and thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. I just really appreciate that.